In this video, let's take a look at how we can use slicers and timelines to filter data from a pivot table in Microsoft Excel. First of all, let's understand what a slicer is and what a timeline is. A slicer is an interactive tool that makes it easy to filter data from a pivot table. A timeline is conceptually similar to a slicer, but it is designed to simplify time-based filtering. Slicers and timelines can also be linked to a pivot chart to filter out relevant information in the form of a chart, and they can also be used to create an easy-to-use interactive dashboard. Look at this sample sales data. Here you have sales data, state, region, month and quarter wise. Let's assume that your boss calls you and asks for month-wise sales figures. In that situation, what you will simply do is that you will insert a pivot table, then drag the month field in the rows box and the sales field in the values box, and here you have your month-wise sales figures. You forward the sales figures to your boss, but then after a while, your boss again calls you and asks for month-wise sales figures from a particular state like California or Washington. Now here you have two options. You can either drag the state field in the filters box and then select your state of interest from the filters box here, then click on OK, and you will get the sales figures from that particular state. You can also select multiple states here by clicking on the select multiple items checkbox here and select your multiple states here. Then click on OK and you will get sales figures from those states. Or you have another option. You can right click on the state field here, then click on add as a slicer. Then you can select the state of interest from the slicer here and you will get the sales figures from the pivot table. To select more than one states in this slicer, you will click on a particular button, then hold down the control key and click on other states of interest. Alternatively, you can click on the multi-select button here and then click on your states of interest. To select all the states in a row, click on a particular state and then drag the mouse button. The advantage of a slicer is that it visually indicates the current filtering state, which makes it easy to understand what is displayed in the pivot table. For example, when I select these three states, I know that the data in the pivot table is related to these three states, that's Arizona, California and Florida. In addition, slicers are more visually appealing and easy to use. Now coming to the concept of timeline. A timeline is conceptually similar to a slicer, but it is only relevant if your pivot table has a field that is formatted as a date. To add a timeline, select a cell in the pivot table, then click on Insert, go to the Filters group and click on Timeline. Select your field of interest, click on OK. Then here you can see the 4 filtering options. You can filter by years, quarters, months and days. Select your filtering option, then just as you worked with a slicer, you can work with a timeline. Now finally, coming to pivot charts. When you insert a pivot chart from a pivot table, the filter or timeline will be connected to the pivot chart also. That means when you select a particular filter on the slicer, that filter will be also applicable on the pivot chart. To insert a pivot chart, select a particular cell in the pivot table, then click on the Insert tab, go to the Charts group and select a particular chart. So this was a little introduction about slicers, timelines, pivot tables and pivot charts. I have included the Excel workbooks with the link in the description so that you can follow along. Make sure to check them out. I hope this video was helpful. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Keep supporting, subscribe the channel. Thanks for watching.